When the elections happened, we said that this is good news because now there are enough American states that form a Republican trifecta, meaning they're totally controlled across all state government branches by Republicans, or states that have had a travel ban by California against them. And when California enacts a travel ban against the state, it says that the way that that state treats LGBTQ or other minorities is unacceptable, and nobody from California on government sponsored payroll or anything to do with the California government or any athletic association can travel to that state. A lot of those states view that as insulting. And so these conservative states have been offended by California. There's about 23 to 25 of them. And then there's also about 23 to 25 Republican trifecta states. When you add that all up, there's about 25 to 27 states that could vote for California to leave the island because they don't like us. As part of our mission for this year, we said that our goal was to get that message out to conservatives. Well, we weren't just about the talk. California and CalExit has been the only organization to really work with conservatives in America. As we've often said, if you're for CalExit and you're for peaceful and legal CalExit, then that means you should be pursuing votes. If you're pursuing votes, that means you have to talk to conservatives to get them to vote you out. And if you're not willing to talk to conservatives to vote you out, how are you willing to pursue secession? Maybe not in a legal or peaceful manner. A lot of people criticize us for doing this, reaching out to conservatives, and our point is this: if you're not trying to reach out to conservatives for votes, what is your plan to secede? And how can you prove that it's legal and peaceful? Because the only way to legally and peacefully secede is through consent, hence getting the votes. So we put that message out. We have been reaching out to conservatives, and part of our effort to continue doing so, we've been participating in talks with a man named Keith from Florida Secession, a very conservative man. He also has brought together secession leaders from New Hampshire, Texas, and Brazil. Recently, we participated in a book club review, and the book is by Tom Woods on national divorce. Tom Woods is a very famous conservative, and he wrote the book called National Divorce, obviously suggesting that it's okay for states to secede. We did a book review about that. I'm going to show you some excerpts from the book review, the meeting that we had, and some excerpts from the book itself and how we align with all those statements. So let's take a look at that real quick. But first, well, here is the introduction to the book show. So the book is called National Divorce by Tom Woods. There's the cover of the book, A Peaceful Solution to Irreconcilable Differences. Irreconcilable differences and national divorce was the terminology that we at Yes California specifically invented in 2018. So it looks like Tom is using phrasing that we were the first to use. National divorce is the only way forward for such a deeply divided society, but it's a forbidden opinion. CNN does not want you discussing it, dear reader. No, it isn't unconstitutional, and it isn't backwards or ridiculous either. It's the most human thing to do. Get a copy of your book. So if you go to this website, nationaldivorce.com, you simply put in your email, you can get a free copy of the book. So anyone can get a copy of the book. There it is. Here's the show that we did. And this was on Unsafe Space. Unsafe Space is a conservative podcast place, 37,000 subscribers. And they basically cover conservative or what we call non-California viewpoints. They don't really like if we call them Republicans or conservatives or libertarians. So I just say people without a California progressive viewpoint. And that seems to get past all that. Let me show you a couple excerpts from this, and then we'll cover some notes in detail. Another comment? There you go. I think this is the last bit of commentary I do. So you could see there, we went on a conservative show. If you watch the full episode, and the link is in the video description, they talked about a bunch of different authors. And one second. We have jet fighters patrol. So, okay. A lot of conservatives were mentioned in that interview. And I pointed out how every single conservative that these conservatives were mentioning already endorsed the idea of Calexit. That's why they started going, whoa, because they were mentioning all these people and on the topic of national divorce, et cetera. And I was going, yeah, I've already talked to every single one of those people, and or they've all specifically endorsed Calexit. Every single conservative you mentioned already backed us. And we gave that message to conservatives. They didn't even know that conservatives, you can watch that clip I just showed you. The conservatives on that show didn't know that a majority of the conservatives had already endorsed Calexit so strongly. So that's, and that book, Tom Woods, by Tom Woods, talks a lot about Calexit. In fact, there's a part in there where we're mentioned by name, and it says that our strategy of reaching out to conservatives is what we're trying to do, which is literally what we're doing in this video and in the book tour we're covering. They mentioned in the actual book that we cover that our strategy is to reach out to conservatives, which we're doing in the book review. See how it's full circle all the way around. So let me show you a little bit of the other quotes from the book by Tom Woods that we agreed with since we're here. Points by Woods and his guests that are the same talking points Calexit has used. Number one, when you move away, when you do go to a foreign country like the Philippines to retire, you still get Social Security, you qualify for Medicare. We have gotten into so many arguments with people who said, no, once you leave America, you can't get any government services. And we said that's not how federal law works. So very cool to see Tom Woods back that point up about facts. Alex, what the left has found out, especially in 2016, is that there's a lot more deplorables than they thought, and that they're lingering a lot longer than they thought. When I say lingering, I mean the demographic changes aren't happening as fast as the left thought. Absolutely true. We've said that for a while. The left realized that America is Donald Trump's America in 2016. That's why they freaked out. Then they were told, no. America's not that horrible. It's a foreign government that rigged the elections. And a lot of liberals bought that for years until it was completely disproven that Russia changed any votes at all. Then people had to accept that actually it was half of America that picked this guy. Absolutely agree with that statement. We've been saying that. So we could give blue states a bargain today and say, right now, today, you could have a lot more of what you want without worrying about whether red state Alabama is going to elect Jeff Sessions back to the Senate, and he's going to have another vote over some abortion law, which is really just being run up the flagpole for testing before the Supreme Court. That's ridiculous. Why would someone in Nancy Pelosi's district, and they vote for her like 80%, by the way, for re-election, have to worry about Jeff Sessions in Alabama? We've said that to Californians. Americans are going to take away your rights because they're federal. There will be nothing you can do to protect your rights. And so if you want to save them, you have to leave. That same argument we make, literally the same. Tom Woods made the same argument in his book, or someone in his book. Would the federal government be willing to negotiate? That's the question. They weren't in 1860. I don't know how receptive they would be today. We literally just did a show minutes ago where we showed a bunch of Americans on Instagram hate California and would be willing to let us go. We have tons of evidence here at Yes California and Calix and on our channel showing real Americans saying, get the hell out and we don't like you. By the way, these conservatives that I was on the book show with, all of them were fine with California leaving. So nobody was like, don't leave California. So we literally have the Instagram that I just covered a few minutes ago showing Americans want us to go. And I literally just did a show with Americans who are conservatives who also said, go ahead and go. There are parts of California with a lot of normal people, parts of Oregon with a lot of normal people. And if those states secede, they're going to get even bluer and crazier. So is the solution that the red parts ought to break off from the rest of the state. McClanahan. Now we know part of that, of course, is the design of the United States. The states created the central authority. They also created the counties and the cities. Thank you, Brian McClanahan. Brian McClanahan's a conservative, but he's backing a point we've made. Counties can't leave California if California secedes. Why? Because counties don't exist at the federal level. They exist at the state level. So they can't be recognized by the federal government. Literally backed up in Tom Woods' book. Calixit, or why can't you say we're going to let Southern California go and Northern California can stay with the United States if it wants to? That would be possible. They could vote to leave California. Not unless a majority let them go. And counties can't leave. You'd have to have the state going. So we completely disagree with this statement here, but we do talk about this a lot. So that is something they talk about in the book and we talk about in the book. We talk about it a lot. Calix, let's say enough red states decide they don't like California. California is a problem. You've got a Republican president. Of course, we know the Republican Party would never do this because they're a bunch of spineless fools. But for the sake of argument, let's follow the process. They go into Congress and say, we're going to vote to remove California from the union. Congress does it. The president signs it. It becomes law. California is no longer part of the United States. This is literally what we have been saying will happen. Californians will realize that they are overwhelmed and outnumbered by Trump-backed conservatives in America who will take away all their rights. And at that point, when they realize that they can't claw back power and that America is a reflection of Trump's values, and at least outside of California, over half of their fellow Americans are Trump supporters. Outside of California, over half of Americans are Trump supporters. Eventually, Californians will realize it's time to go. And we literally just showed you a video a few minutes ago where Californians were shocked to learn at how much hate there is of California. So when Californians learn the depth of the hate and they begin to see this reality, a conservative federal government that can't be changed and takes away your government, takes away your rights, and there's nothing you can do as long as you're part of America. That's what we've been saying for Californians. Here's the quote. In fact, the leader of the California secession discussion has brought this up. He said, this is exactly how we need to do it. We need to pressure Congress to vote us out of the union. So there's Jeff Deist, interviewed in Tom Woods' book, specifically referring to me. in an interview I did with Jeff Deist years ago, where I said our plan is to convince conservatives to let us go. Also, they say we can just ask the Congress to let us go, and we go. Well, there's some truth there. Erwin Chemerinsky said a simple majority vote of Congress could allow California to secede, since it was a simple majority of Congress that made California a state. Erwin Chemerinsky is the top constitutional scholar in California. And if you're thinking logically, well, wouldn't it be great if Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein and all these people are no longer in the general government? They're just gone. And because they're in California, they can go. Kamala Harris could be the president of the Republic of California. They could just have it all day. We make that argument all the time at CalExit, Yes California, to conservatives. You know, if we were independent, you don't have to worry about crazy Californians in Congress coming up with radical ideas to push values on you that you don't like. We always make that argument. Literally, here's the same argument by Tom Woods in his book. And we don't actually teach the real Declaration of Independence. It's not a founding document. It's a defounding document. It's a document of secession. We always say that the American independence movement was a secession movement. CalExit, Brian McClanahan said this. I think that's it. Their ideology is top down. One size fits all. Government works for them. Because if they're in power, they can do anything they want. Progressives thrive on centralization of power, so that is a real problem. To get those people on board is going to be hard. We've routinely said that. We have routinely said that although we love California and Californians, there are two types of Californians. Those of us that recognize we need to have a peaceful national divorce now, and those of us who believe we should force our values on you conservatives because you're dumb and don't know better. So that is absolutely how California liberals think. They want to run over you and control everything. We've said that. That's why we said you need to work with us CalExit supporters and vote us out. Gavin Newsom went out to social media very quickly and said, this doesn't affect us because we've got our own eviction moratorium in the state of California, so you can't evict people here anyways. It doesn't matter what the United States government says. Gavin Newsom did say that, and we did point out how Gavin Newsom said, I don't care what the federal government does. We're going to have our own policies, as an example of active California nullification. Here in Tom Woods' book, he agrees. All the never Trumpers, all the hate Donald Trump people, why were they so angry? Because they thought their world was going to end. That's absolutely true. We said that. So in California, people felt someone like Donald Trump could never be elected. And when he was elected, they were shocked. They thought that could never happen. Literally, the California Assembly, in a joint resolution, meaning all of them agreed, described it as though they woke up in a foreign country looking at America. So that was absolutely true. We've said that. Suppose this time it were California that wanted out, and the message to California on secession referendum was, if you didn't have to pay your share of the military budget, that would be enough to fund national health in California. I think a lot of people in California, the non-militaristic types especially, would think that's a good bargain. If secession happens in the next 5 years, it'll be from places like Washington State or California. That's F.H. Buckley. That's in Tom Woods' book, where someone's saying secession is most likely in California. So imagine what things would be like in an easy imagined future where impeachment is fizzled out, where Trump wins re-election, and where 2 or 3 more conservatives are appointed to the Supreme Court. At that point, I think the left would be going ballistic. Yes, we have said that. That future's coming when Californians realize that the federal government's under the control of people who like Trump. There's nothing they can do about that because this is America until the year 2045. They will push for secession. We've said that. Totally agree. Whereas I find that the progressive left tends to be more imperialistic in its ambitions for social reconstruction. It's not enough for them to say, we'll live our way and be content. It's we'll live our way and so will you. I mean, these guys don't have the stop impulse. They don't know when enough is enough. And that's because they're driven by an ideology where they've got rightness on their side and the enemy is the devil. If they're not willing to compromise on that, I mean, they must have a choice at that point. Either we realize that we're not going to go communist and we're going to have to compromise, or they'll start thinking, let's have the perfectly woke state of California do whatever we want. We have said that. We have said liberals are coming to take over your values at the federal level and move into your states in person. And then they're going to change the way the votes happen in your states, and they're going to change the federal laws, and they will destroy your values. And there's nothing you can do to stop them because Californians are bent on control. And they seem to like moving to other states that are cheaper. And the only way to save yourself from these liberals who want to roughshod, run over everything for you in conservative America is to vote us out. Let us have our utopia on our own instead of forcing it on you. Absolutely, we've said the same thing. Okay, we're getting close. The other thing is this: suppose there were a secession referendum in a place like California, and suppose it's backed up by a state declaration of independence. That by itself wouldn't make California independent. Secession would have to be accomplished by an agreement with the rest of the states. Absolutely, we've said that. Texas versus white, consent to the states. That's how we said California should secede. It's one of three ways California should secede. We've also talked about the right of self-determination under the UN and the right of decolonization, given that America illegally acquired California in a similar manner to the way that it illegally acquired Hawaii. Intentionally right now, it does not seem to me that the blue states are really considering secession. California briefly considered it under Trump. That's true. We agree. So those were the statements in the book by Tom Woods. Let me show you again the book. This is the book. We just showed you a lot of statements that we have in similarity with him. You can get it here at nationaldivorce.com. This was the book interview on unsafe space. We were proud to be there in front of 37.5 thousand people explaining our liberal view. Very happy to do it. That is it. Wanted you to see all that, and hopefully you found that book review interesting. We're hoping to get more interviews with Tom Woods, but we wanted to let you see that a lot of the stuff that these experts are talking about with National Divorce, we've already been saying before they ever bothered to publish. And the book, Irreconcilable Differences, National Divorce, we said that first. So we are very happy to be influencing people, and we're very happy to have other thoughtful people back up facts that we have said for years. Take a look at the comments. Oh, can't hear the video, huh? Oh, damn. What to do about that? Well, that kind of sucks. Wow, that sucks. Do I want to go back and redo the whole thing? No, I don't. I'll just say that you saw the minute marks that I did the interview. There you go. 4307 and 5217. And that's where I spoke, at the 4307 mark, the 5217 mark, and the 1 hour and 10 minute mark. You can see my comments there. I was roughly talking about the history of America and the history of legal secession. And I was talking about how conservatives already back secession. In the last section at 1 hour and 10 minutes in, I talked about how every single conservative that they mentioned in the previous interview has already backed Calixon. So sorry the sound didn't go out. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it decides it doesn't work. I don't know why. Check it out there for those things, and we'll see you later.